Friends, I've been asked many times to film a farm in Montenegro. So here I am at a small Russian farm. It's located on the Lushnica Peninsula. Now, I'll give you a brief look at what it looks like, and then we'll have a chat with the Russian farmer. He'll tell us a little bit about this farm. Here we can see that there are a few cows, about 20 goats, a donkey, and all sorts of other animals. Turkeys, pigs, chickens. Here's a closer look. This is real countryside. This is Olga Ovchar's farm. Those who have lived in Montenegro for a long time, many of them know about it. She's mainly known for producing and selling amazing cheeses. And actually, this is what the cheese dairy looks like from the outside. There is a storage room, a specially refrigerated storage with a stock of cheese, which my wife is actually tasting right now. Well, let's go and have a chat with Olga. Hello, Olga. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this interview. Could you please tell us how you came to Montenegro?
We bought a summer house, like many people here, I suppose. We have 3 children. We found a little house, came here for the summer, and now it's been 10 years.
And why did you choose this particular place? First of all, among the relatively inexpensive countries you can still move to, there's, for example, Serbia, Albania, and maybe even Bulgaria.
Well, Serbia doesn't have a sea, and I never wanted to go to the Black Sea in Bulgaria. And we ended up here purely by chance. My husband and I wanted to go to Spain for our honeymoon, but it didn't work out with the visas. And so,
You got denied?
by some twist of fate, we ended up here.
By the way, I agree about Bulgaria. I never wanted to go there either. I feel like it's a worse country than Montenegro.
Probably,
Tell me, how long have you been living here? Have you settled in? Do you like it here?
well, this is our 11th year living here. We've tried a lot of different things.
Wow, you're a long timer, even longer than us.
Yeah, that's right.
You chose Lushnica as your place of residence. I already filmed your farm there today and mentioned that your farm is located in Lushnik. Usually, from what I've seen, most farms are in the central part of Montenegro, like Danilovgrad, or in the northern part, like Dracula, or maybe somewhere near Živlik. Why did you choose Lushnika specifically?
Well, we're not actually farmers.
So you don't see yourselves as farmers, but as what then? A cheese dairy.
No, let me clarify. We came here to the seaside with our young children and bought a little house not far from the sea, just as a summer place. And nothing. We're from St. Petersburg, so we never even considered anything to do with farming. My parents didn't even have a dacha, a blank slate.
Is it this house or a different one?
That one?
So it's somewhere nearby. Recently, a lot of money has started being invested in Lushnica, and we see that they've built Lushnica Bay. Now there's news that they've started making serious investments in the roads. They're promising to invest 3 million.
Yes, they're building the road. And they're laying water pipes at the same time, as far as I understand. And there's also a large complex being built. They're constructing Porta Bona here behind Lushnica Bay. On the public side, that is our part. And on Droso, they're also planning to build Rick's Chapel, more complexes as well. That's exactly where they're going to build the road.
So visually, does Lushnica really, can you say, it's really changing something drastically? Is it no longer lagging behind the rest of Montenegro?
It's becoming luxury, yes. That scares us a little. We ran away from the city, and now the city is starting to catch up with us.
I think it still won't reach here that quickly. There's still a lot of open space here, plenty of room to build, and still places to hide from the city noise. Tell me, how did you even come up with the idea to start your own farm? You just said you had no experience. You never even had a dacha.
Not at all.
So how did you decide to just jump in and start farming from scratch?
Well, our oldest son, when he turned 10, asked for chickens to buy him as a present.
To play with?
But he had a business plan. He was going to sell eggs to tourists.
10 old? Seriously?
Yes. Then he realized he can't build a fortune on 5 chickens. So he took out a loan to grow the business.
From whom? From you?
Of course. So he bought 5 more. Then he paid back that interest-free loan. Since then he hasn't borrowed any money.
Seriously, he actually paid it back?
He paid it back. How else?
He paid it back as he sold the eggs.
Yes, exactly. His dad, watching him, decided to get some quails. And seeing them, I bought an incubator, and that's how it all started.
So it was all completely spontaneous. There was no plan at all?
With cheese, it was the same old neighbor, Hatchie, had 3 cows. And when we moved here, we would buy milk for the kids from her. She made absolutely wonderful young cheese. But it's only wonderful for the first 2 or 3 days. After that, I thought, well, they just don't know how to age it properly. Our marriages heard nothing. We thought, we'll build the proper cellar now, and we'll keep the cheese there. It'll mature there, and we'll have perfect cheese. I started reading about aging, about cellars. It turned out that we couldn't build any kind of cellar, because there was a mistake right from the start. Basically, she was making the wrong kind of cheese from the beginning, the kind that isn't meant to be aged. Well, since I'd already read all about it, and it was interesting, I had to buy some milk and make cheese myself.
So it turns out you can basically learn farming on your own. You don't have to be a farmer to do it. You can come from St. Petersburg and start your own farm.
Experience shows that yes.
Tell us a bit about your farm. So we saw a number of cows and goats. What animals do you actually keep here?
We keep poultry. Well, that's what we started with. But now we have less and less of it. There was a time when we were really into it. We kept 12 breeds of chickens, went to exhibitions in Bosnia and Serbia, brought back eggs, and obsessively bred all sorts of breeds. But when the goats joined the family, naturally, most of our attention shifted to them.
So the business project with eggs didn't pay off?
No, why would you say that? It's still going, we still trade and sell eggs, and it's nice to have our own homegrown eggs. It's just that our focus has shifted a bit more toward cheese making. In the beginning, I started out by buying cow's milk from a neighbor, and we also had our own goats, and the difference was huge, especially in the consistency of the milk quality. There's a big difference between having your own milk and buying it. So ever since then, because we struggled and searched for good cow's milk to buy, because I'm absolutely terrified of cows, as you know.
Why? They're such a beloved animal.
For 4 years, I ran away from a horn-bearded cow. I've never run so fast in my life. I literally flew over the fence to get away from her. And that panic, that total lack of trust in this enormous 650 kilogram creature has stayed with me for life. I used to think I wasn't afraid of anything. No, it turns out there are no cows.
I've noticed that Russian farms often keep goats rather than cows. Why is that? Do you also have mostly goats? So is there more goat's milk, or is it just easier to sell?
No, actually goat cheese is a separate part of the market, and it is easier to sell to a cow because...
So why don't you keep more cows instead of goats?
Wait a minute. We got our first cow only 2 years ago.
Oh, so the goats just came first.
The goats came first. Our first cow was a gift from someone.
As a gift? How so?
Client gave her to me.
So you've been given a donkey, a cow, and I think even some dogs.
People give us dogs as gifts. Now we're also ready to give dogs to anyone who wants one.
Tanya, when you're ready, just let us know. All right. How did your first sales go? As I understand it, you brought in those chickens. It was your 10-year-old son's business project, and he started selling them somewhere himself.
At that time, we had a villa with apartments. We rented a villa with a pool and apartments for 4 years. Well, there were tourists there, of course.
So it wasn't your own place, it was...
No, we were renting it.
Got it.
And to those tourists who are visiting our valued guests.
Well done. Usually, people who rent out such villas to tourists offer car sharing or excursions. But you offered eggs. Exactly. That's when your main business started. So, basically, it's cheese. But you also spend a bit of time on everything. I mean, meat, poultry, eggs. Anything else?
We got piglets in the fall and...
By the way, why don't they breed piglets in Montenegro? They're about this size here. In Russia, I lived in Seville 2 years. You see huge hogs running around.
Well, if you're looking at ours, that's a specific breed, and it's small.
Are they?
But there are also ones that weigh 100 kilos. We don't know. I never wanted to keep pigs, because everywhere I went, the smell was just awful. And that always stopped me, no matter how much you wash them or anything. But first of all, there's this keeping them in concrete pens, where the poor animal never sees anything in its life. Secondly, there's that smell, well, in general.
And these don't stink?
These ones don't stink, they really don't, they're completely different. They eat differently, they grow differently. They are completely different. In general, I think they're highly organized beings. It's like the difference between a chicken that runs around everywhere looking for things on its own, and a broiler, which isn't even really a chicken, that is also a creature, but in my opinion, it's deprived of intelligence, and I just call it meat.
Besides meat, do you grow anything else? What do you feed these chickens? Or is it all store-bought feed?
Almost all the grains are store-bought, because in Lushnitsi there's no water. Even with hay, things aren't really great here. Not for plowing. The skin here is good, but there's no water supply, yes.
So it's being built now.
Water construction.
What about all your imported water?
It gets delivered. And when there's no rain,
Only livestock farming is possible.
even then, a cow drinks about 150 liters of water a day.
It seems to me that in Montenegro, besides livestock farming, it's hard to do anything else heavy because the ground is very hard and I guess you can't really plant potatoes here. Or is it possible?
It's possible. Actually, they used to plow here with oxen. For example, this meadow here was cultivated in the past, and they planted both fodder crops and potatoes, and they harvest potatoes twice a year, in principle. But there just aren't any surfaces here suitable for mechanization.
There just aren't many fields.
Yes, these little meadows are very small, the ones between the hills somewhere. And of course, that's why all the agriculture is concentrated in Podgorica, Danilowgrad, where there are valleys and plains, or again on the northern side.
There's just one town there.
There are good meadows there, we bring hay from there. These are the foothills. These are the plebs, the service. Here in Lushnitsa, of course, it's basically a paradise for goats because of the evergreen forests. Goats don't really need grass as such. They mostly eat twigs and leaves from the trees.
Do you keep them pinned up there or do you let them out to graze?
They go for walks. No, right now it's very hot, so we walk them early in the morning and in the evening when the heat subsides.
How do you walk them? Do you have to walk them yourself or do you just let them out into the field?
You can't just let them out. They'll let themselves out.
You know how to...
You have to herd them. You can let cows out, you can let sheep out, but goats are a natural disaster, so you shouldn't do that.
Do you herd them yourself?
Well, that's what we have volunteers for.
By the way, tell us about the volunteers.
3 years ago, when we realized that we physically couldn't handle this project well, even though we only had about 15 goats back then, probably not a single cow, we still kind of panicked. And I found websites for volunteer movements where lots of people travel around. It's one way to travel without money, and one way to get to know the life of a country from the inside. It's not a lazy vacation, but rather one combined with work. According to the terms, they're supposed to work 4 to 5 hours a day, and the rest of the time they're free. In exchange, we provide them with accommodation and meals.
So, like a compartment?
Yes. And, they have the right to days off. Some use this opportunity to travel around the country and see things, while others don't take advantage of it at all. Well, especially those who also want to have their own fun. They prefer to really immerse themselves in our way of life to experience it firsthand. And as a rule, they say, thank you very much, we won't be doing that.
So is it just people coming to learn or is this some kind of tourism?
There are all kinds of people. Of course, we try to filter out pure tourists. That is, we have time limits. We don't take people for less than 2 weeks because we need to teach them what's going on, how things work, how to feed, how to milk, how to walk the animals. The animals get used to them. They get used to the animals, and we get used to them, so our minimum is 2 weeks. But there are people who stay for 3 months, and some who come back again, and with whom we're still friends and keep in touch. These are guys from all over the world, from Colombia, from Argentina. Right now we have people coming from Chilean, expecting them in September. Malaysia, France, the French are very hardworking, just really wonderful people.
Seriously? I thought they were lazy. Very nice. A 35-hour work week.
Well, I don't know about the work week, but when it comes to farm life,
That's what I was thinking.
they're real hard workers, not afraid of getting dirty, nothing scares them, and they really put in the effort. Or maybe we just got lucky with the French, Americans, Germans. There was a couple who came, already over 60 retirees from Switzerland. They actually sold their house, bought themselves a luxurious camper, and have been traveling around Europe for 4 years now.
Doing skeleton racing.
Well, I guess on a Swiss pension you can afford a camper. They helped us get a visa, yes. Now we have Poles coming to us, he's 53. The guy who laid the tiles was German, he's 56 as well. He divorced his first wife and left her half the house, then divorced his second wife and left her half the house too. And now he ended up without a house, with his pension cut in half. There was a pension reform in Germany. So the pension is different. Norway curses the Bundestag to high heaven and goes volunteering around Eastern Europe because he has nowhere to live.
Are they Russian volunteers or are they mostly European?
There are Russians, but to be honest, we've had a very unfortunate experience specifically with Russians because, you see, I don't think this can be changed here. It's a difference in mentality. For example, when a European comes, they arrive with the idea, especially Americans have this strongly developed that they're coming to help. Their mindset is, we need help, I'm helping, plus it adds to my karma. But when a European comes, they know I'm getting free accommodation, and I'm being fed tasty, healthy food for free, and in exchange I have to work it off. Russians, on the other hand, come with the idea that I'm going to work without pay, so everyone owes me for that. So, from the very beginning, I feel unhappy because I'm forced to work without a salary. And that's why I want to take everything I can from life.
I understand what you're talking about.
And the difference is really noticeable, especially compared to the other guys. It's very obvious. They don't know how to work, they don't want to work, and they've already ended up here. For example, we've definitely had more than 200 volunteers already. And honestly, when it comes to Russians, I can only say something good about maybe 2 or 3 people.
Does the farm have a large production volume?
Well, no, probably not, because...
I see, there aren't that many animals.
This farm is more of a homestead.
Yes, we try to keep it as a homestead, specifically a family farm. Everything we can do ourselves, we don't resell, we don't buy from outside, precisely because I'm very particular about the quality of the milk. And the quality of the milk depends on what they eat. What goes in is what comes out. And unfortunately, you can't make good cheese from bad milk.
Are you tired?
I do get tired.
So, for example, what was this morning like?
Wake up at 6 in the morning, milking.
And you have to milk every day at 6 in the morning? That's tough. What if you come at 7 or maybe 7:30?
It's hot.
Ah, I see.
It's hot, there are flies, and we get up at 6 in the morning because after milking, they go out to graze. We have to manage that too before it gets too hot. And then around 9 o'clock we have breakfast. So first the animals eat, and then we do.
Of course.
Then it's cheese, 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 cheese. And around 3 or 4 o'clock we finally get around to having lunch. At 7 in the evening, it's time for the evening milking.
Do you make it mainly for sale? Like, do people come to you to buy it, or do you deliver to certain regions? Is that right?
Yes, we, because of the pandemic, we started delivering to Podgorets. Yes, we started delivering. Well, that's because my cheeses are quite specific. And my clientele is mostly expats, of course. So we deliver to embassies, embassy staff, and to the French.
But I understand you cover the whole coast except for Bad, Kotor, Divana.
We stopped going to Bad.
Because Bard is far away.
That's not even the main reason. For some reason, Bad turned out to be very disorganized. We had many situations where people just wouldn't respond or wouldn't pick up their orders. For us, that's a whole day lost. I mean, we drive there, and during that time, of course, we can't do anything else.
Yeah, with Bard, a lot of people have similar issues.
For some reason, all the other cities are much more organized. It's specifically with Bard that we have this issue. We've run into this once, twice, 3 times. I said, that's it.
I've said many times in the video on several occasions that Bar is a somewhat unique and special city. Basically, that's exactly what you're talking about.
Tell us a little about the cheeses. What kinds of cheeses do you make? Why are the locals your customers?
Well, we do have our own, local customers who buy from us. Yes. But I just don't make, I make young cheeses, but the young cheeses I make aren't simple ones. I make burrata, I make halloumi, I make primosa, and that's in the summer. The ones that sell the most, we started supplying to a restaurant last year. This year, we started supplying cheddar, and our second restaurant is also in Lusitka Bay. Right now, we're negotiating with one and only in Comba. We're negotiating with Casa del Mare as well. Why? Because I make mold-ripened cheeses that no one else in Podgorica makes. And I think I make them pretty well. Last year, we went to a cheese festival in Italy. It was important for me to try the cheeses that I make. I had never tried the originals before.
How was it? Were they alike?
Better. Mine are better.
Awesome. Friends, I'll leave Olga's contact information in the description of this video. And I'll probably put her phone number on the screen as well. So if you need cheese or any other farm products, you can get in touch with her about that and have a chat. Thank you very much for agreeing to this conversation. Thanks everyone for watching, and goodbye.